Hi guys. This video I'm making kind of last minute. As you can see, I don't have my normal setup. I'm at school because I had different plans that got changed. Originally, I was going to invite all of y'all to come to a special Zoom on today, Wednesday, and then just go through this with you real quick, what I'm about to go over. However, then they told me I was going to be teaching other students all day, so then I gave up on that idea, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, we don't need you. So now I'm quickly trying to make this video for you here. And the purpose of this video, this is covering the Week 10 Intro to Commentary for Analysis assignment from last week. For those of you who don't currently have a passing grade on it, I'm just going to quickly walk you through what you need to do to get a passing grade starting from the beginning. Now, right above my head, you should see the directions and rubric from the file. And I'm going to have those up the whole time because with all these assignments, it is 100% vital that you're actually looking at the directions. And then over here on the right-hand side, I have the actual assignment that I'll walk you through. And you'll notice, of course, at the top, I have the numbers 1 through 9. Those represent the 9 directions that you are supposed to follow. Direction number 1 says exist as a living breathing human being, so I'll go ahead and delete that one. Number 2 says that on Monday and Tuesday you're supposed to pay attention in class. It's kind of too late for that, so let's just go ahead and delete that one and go to step 3. So the idea is at the bottom of this assignment, and you probably already know this, there is the text from All Quiet on the Western Front in which Kantorek, a German school teacher, is trying to convince his students to join the war, to sign up and fight for Germany in World War I. And all you're writing about is what does he do to convince them. What we did in class is we read it, I broke you up into groups, and if you were here that day, you should have some idea some of the things he does. There are multiple different things he does. He talks about how they are heroes and how everyone's going to look up to them to sort of motivate them. He asks some things about their family, like, are your father so forgetful, your mother so weak, where he's basically saying, if you don't go, that's going to make your family look weak. So he's like, so that's 2 things he's done. Hey, you could be heroes, but also if you don't go, shame on your family. That's 2 things you could talk about. He also talks about another school where a bunch of kids signed up to kind of make them, hey, you don't want to be worse than that, and so forth. He also says, hey, the war's not going to be that bad. Not very many people are going to die. To make it seem like it's not that bad. So what's the point? Like, what are you afraid of, and so forth. And so that's like 4 or 5 things I've just thrown out there, and you need to write about one of them to get a passing grade on this assignment. Just one, whichever one you feel you could best describe and explain. Any of the ones I just talked about would be good. For me, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this one right here, where he says, I know that in one of the schools, the boys have risen up in the classroom and enlisted en masse. But of course, if such a thing should happen here, you would not blame me for feeling pride. So he's saying at another school, all the boys went and joined the army, and he's using that to try to motivate them. So I will use that as my example. All right, so we come up here to write. Step number 3 says, on Monday or Tuesday, well, we're doing it late, but anyway, write a single claim sentence that talks about a rhetorical choice the author used. Be sure to highlight the author blue, the audience orange, and the rhetorical choice green. So literally, you're writing one sentence, and you're just writing down what you're planning to talk about. So I said I was going to talk about how he uses another school. Well, who uses another school? Kantorek. Talks about another school, and you can see that I typed just as bad as y'all, so no big there, to convince the students to join the army. Boom, that's it for step 3 except for the highlighting. It says to highlight the author blue. The author in this case is Kantorek. He's the one talking, so I'm going to highlight him blue. I'm going to do it correctly now. I'm going to highlight him blue. It says to highlight the audience orange. The people he's talking to are the students, so I'll highlight them orange. And the rhetorical choice, what did he do? He chose to talk about another school, so I'm going to highlight that green. Now, obviously, if you're writing this from scratch, you're probably going to pick a different one. Maybe you'll pick the one where he says, hey, you could be heroes, something like that. So what you highlight green is probably going to be different because you will pick a different one than me. You're not just going to directly copy everything I write. But hey, we have done step number 3. It's that simple. Some of you struggle with that step, and that's all I'm asking you to do. Tell me that it was Kantorek, tell me what he does and who he's talking to. All right, step number 4 says, write a second sentence that supports the claim by providing evidence in the form of a quote. So now I said he talks about another school. I need to back that up with a quote. So I'm going to come back down here to my text. It says, so right here is what I'm looking at. I'm going to pull my quote from here, but of course that is way, way too long because, as you know, I will only let you use 5 words or less. The boys have risen up. Yeah, just say the boys have risen up. That is 5 words. So I'm going to make that my quote. I'm going to put it right here. And of course, since it's a quote, I'm going to put it in quote marks. But of course, that's not a sentence. I need a complete sentence. And I don't want you to say, he states the boys have risen up, because then I don't know what boys you're talking about. What is he talking about? So I would say, he says that. Now, if I just say, he says that the boys have risen up, that's not good enough because that sentence doesn't tell me who the boys are or what they've risen up to do. Like, there's not enough information there for the sentence to make sense for someone to know what the quote is talking about. He says that at a different school, the boys have risen up to join the army. To join the army there. So now this is an acceptable sentence. The quote is 5 words or less, and I've put enough words outside of it that the quote makes sense. Someone who reads the sentence knows what the quote is talking about. So that is step number 4. And I would like to point out, some of you struggle with doing this. This is a normal sentence. He says that at a different school, the boys have risen up to join the army. That doesn't sound like a teacher. It doesn't sound fancy. It just sounds like someone explaining, and that is what I'm trying to get you to do. All right, step number 5 was to check your grade on Wednesday, so I'll delete that now. All right, step number 6. It says, add at least one sentence of commentary that connects the claim to the evidence and in some way discusses how the audience is supposed to be affected. All right, so this is the big deal right here. Remember, commentary has to talk about this evidence, the boys have risen up at a different school, and talk about how that leads these people to join the army. So you kind of have to explain, why does that quote work? Why did he say that quote? And don't say he says this to convince them to join the army, because that's just repeating what's already been said. You kind of have to explain. So what I would do is I would sit here and I'd ask myself, he talks about boys at a different school. Why would the people he's listening to, why would his students care? And I think the idea is that they're at a different school, and you all understand how school rivalries work. So for this commentary, I'm going to explain, why would these kids care about kids at another school? So I'm going to say something like, the students will likely care about what is happening at another school because they don't want it to seem like their school is worse. This is a straight up idea. This is, school rivalry. If I'm trying to motivate students, I'm going to say, hey, over at Woodrow, everyone's doing this. Everyone's great. I'm just saying they will care because they're going to care about another school because everyone wants their school to be the best. All right. So I haven't repeated anything. I've explained why they would care. I've explained why this quote matters to the audience. I've actually explained that. And of course, step 6, it also says to highlight the sentence yellow. So I'm going to highlight it yellow. I'm going to delete the 6. And if I stop right now, if you do this much, your grade is now a 70. It's passing. That's it. That's all you need to do to get a 70 is to write these 3 sentences. Obviously, I want you to get more than a 70. Obviously, I want you to write more. So look at what it says for step 7. It says, add another 3 sentences that talk about a second rhetorical choice. So to get the next step, you would start a new paragraph and you would start talking about something new. You would say, instead of he talked about another school, maybe you would talk about the thing about how he says about their families, or how he promises them they will be heroes, or something like that. And so you would end up with another paragraph that looks like this one. It has the same kind of highlighting, it has the same structure, it follows the same rules, but it's about a different rhetorical choice. And then that would get you up to an 85. To get you to a 95, then you would add more to these commentaries and so forth. But again, these 3 sentences, done correctly, highlighted these ways, will get you a 70 on that assignment. And of course, if you want to do more than that, I encourage you to do that. But everyone, he needs to get to at least a 70 on this. So what you should do at this point, you should pick a different one. Don't do the school one because I just showed you that one. Probably the easiest one for you to do is when he says, hey, you'll be heroes, everyone will love you. Or when he says, hey, there's a place where he says, you know what? If you're in the Army and you have a uniform, the women will like you. They're teenage boys. He's telling them girls will want them. So you would say, Cantrack talks about how girls will like them to convince them to join the Army. And in this sentence, you'll have the quote about what he says about the women. And then in this sentence, you'll explain why teenage boys would care if girls like them. That's probably not too hard for you to explain. You probably have some ideas there. You highlight everything. Boom, you have a 70. And of course, I encourage you to follow more directions and get higher. So please, whatever's holding you back, go do this. Remember that if you want me to regrade it, you need to let me know that it has been finished and is ready for regrading. Send me a message to let me do that. If you still have questions about what I'm talking about or you still need more information, send me a message. Talk to me about, I can get on Zoom with you. I can send you a remind message if you need more help. But please, go finish this assignment, get it up to a passing grade so that you can be caught up. Boom.